It's Money Matters, an NSCC financial literacy podcast situated in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. And now here's your host, Matt Curry.
Hello and welcome to Money Matters Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Curry. Am I a financial expert? Heck no. But I do know a few things, and I know people who know a few more things, and that's what this podcast is about. Connecting all those pieces together. I'm very grateful to have a student with us. Her name is Cassandra Barrett. Welcome, Cassandra.
Hi, thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, that's a long story. So I just finished up my post-grad certificate in geospatial data analytics through COGS NSCC. And I live in Campbell River, BC. So I'm across the country from you guys.
Oh, okay. So you've completed it all
online. Yeah. 4 a.m. wake-ups for a couple months. So.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Yes. The 4-hour time zone. Time difference. Yeah, that's sure. A big one. Okay, so you know a lot about getting up early.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
Yeah.
The afternoons, which is nice. So
pros and cons, I guess. Yeah. So Cassandra, we'll get right into it. Looking back to when you started your program, do you feel like you were financially prepared?
So I was for this one, and I thought that question was really interesting just because, I'm 36 now. It's not my first rodeo doing post-secondary. But in the past, I wasn't really financially prepared, coming out of high school, just ready to go. And I look back on that and I was like, oh, there's so many things I could have done differently. So this time around, before deciding to go into the post-grad certificate, my partner and I, we kind of had to really sit down and is this manageable? Can we do it? How much money do I have to be making while still in the program? Because they suggest you not work. And that's just not feasible, honestly, living in BC and rent prices. It's just not manageable. So it was a very interesting way to sit down and figure out balance. So yes, but also there was kind of that worry for quite a bit of is this going to be enough? Is me tutoring and taking a couple substitute teaching days? Sorry, I am a teacher. So is taking a half day here and there, is that going to be enough? And I also had some money saved up from the previous year, which was to pay for tuition and hopefully it'd be enough on the leaner months. So March is a really rough month as a teacher because we have 2 weeks of March break in BC. And obviously I can't work during that time. So it was a really weird balancing act. So yes, but also it was worrisome at the same time.
Right. Yeah, I guess you had kind of the benefit of knowing a little bit about what to expect from having done it before.
Yes. But also going in with more responsibilities in this case. I have a stepson. He's here. We need to make sure he's not being fed, just ramen noodles the whole time. And so
that's right. So life is a bit more expensive now than probably.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
It's a lot to think about. So did you seek out any support from NSCC?
I did. I went through student awards. I knew the complicated piece of that is that, I'm not a recent high school graduate, so there's not as many opportunities. And also I had a very good job before this, right? So financial need wasn't there as much. I still applied. You never know, right? Sometimes you find the right thing. So I did apply for a lot of them and I didn't get any. But on the flip side, like I said, I had a good job last year. I was able to save quite a bit. Had I known I was going to do this, I probably would have started a little earlier. But yeah, I was able to save and make sure that we were going to be okay for the year. So I did seek out, but also I knew that teaching is a good pay, right? But not having it, I find that that's always something I found frustrating, even as a first-time student. You're going into it and sometimes people are asking you about your backgrounds or how much your parents are making, but my parents didn't help me pay for school. So I didn't understand why that was. I wish there was an option to be they're not helping me. This is just me and I don't have money. So yeah, I just find that interesting on those, not necessarily NSCC, but in other OSAP applications and stuff. They always ask about how much your parents making, but you're well, they can't help me. So
yeah, it's unfortunate that a lot of those programs tend to make the assumption that you've got the family support, and it's not always the case. So
so it would be nice to have that option.
Yes, especially this day and age, it's a lot harder for parents to contribute because how expensive the world is.
And I did appreciate with the NSCC, it was very open and just being tell us where you're at, which I really did appreciate, like that Excel spreadsheet kind of going over your finances, because that I feel like painted a much more rounded picture of, because like my rent here is probably a lot more expensive than maybe rent in the Annapolis Valley, right? So I like that that was there and that was an option.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that, Cassandra, because we strive to not be too invasive and to allow, because everyone's finances are different.
For sure.
And we want to be respectful and make that process as dignified as possible. So I'm glad that you took
No,
that.
and I like that it was, you can kind of say as much as you want or as little as you want. But I did appreciate that. So it felt a little more like, oh, just because I did have a job last year doesn't mean that I might not be in need this year. So
yes, life happens. Absolutely. Do you have any advice that you'd share with new students to help them avoid challenges?
Oh, don't be afraid to look at your finances. Ignoring them doesn't make it better. It does not make it better. And now that I'm a little older and have done a lot more, I would say, if you can save for a rainy day, do it. If you can find little ways to invest, like my dad recently has gotten really into EFTs, and I'm not promoting it, but he's a man who's never saved a penny in his life and is now able to save for bigger things. And just looking at different options and finding people who know what they're talking about and who have your best interest, I think is a good way to look at life. But yeah, don't put your head in the sand. Try and actually have a good look at what's going on financially for you. Be aware before you take on student loans that they can be a big thing. So I worked really hard to get rid of them, but it took a long time. Not a long, like I did in a short amount of time, but yeah, it was a very focused effort to not have those kind of hanging over me. So.
Yeah, those are really great tips. So ignorance isn't bliss, and when it comes to borrowing, definitely, weighing all the pros and cons and just make sure that you know what you're getting into.
Yeah, for sure.
I know you were an avid participant in our NSCC Financial Literacy Challenge. In fact, you were a recipient of one of our grand prizes, the tuition waiver. Can you share a little bit about your experience with that initiative?
I hope none of my teachers are listening to this. So being an online student and sometimes being very early morning, we would have kind of like little breaks in between. And I would often do the challenges in the breaks because 4:30, 5 a.m. is early. And sometimes your brain is just like, I'll just go do something kind of fun. And I'm an alternate school teacher, but my focus is math and science. So I actually love that financial literacy is so much more a part of our world now because I didn't learn anything about it in high school. And have a really cool teacher at the Rob Ron program in Campbell River who does something called Financiary. So she does a whole finance, I think it's January and February with her students. And I don't know, every time I see financial literacy, I always go and just try them out. I like to see what's happening. And sometimes there's things that you think you're doing really well. And then I think one of the quizzes was asking like, how financially prepared are you? And it was looking at like, are you able to save for like if you don't have work for a month? And I was like, oh my gosh, like we are not there right now. If that happened, we would be in trouble. So sometimes it's just looking in like a gentle way at what you're looking. Yeah, the quizzes were fun. I like that stuff. Also, even though I'm switching careers, my brain is always kind of like, oh, that'd be a really cool thing for students to know about, or maybe I can tell Michelle about this and she might incorporate it. So maybe borrowed some ideas from yours as well. So to pass on to some high schoolers instead of just people at NSCC. So.
That's great. Feel free to borrow. And I think you touched on something there that's really key too, is that I feel like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but financial literacy is one of those topics that no one is really an expert in. I think there's something to learn at every stage. And so it sounds like you're really leaning into that, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think it's fun. Like it's interesting. Yeah. And especially what I appreciated, and I think I had mentioned it before, was just, they were just short little things, right? It's not like, it's not someone sitting you down and being like, well, this is your full budget and this is what you should be doing. It was just kind of like, hey, if you're doing this, maybe think about doing this instead, right? And just putting aside what you can. But like even I learned a lot, God, this was a couple of years ago, about bank fees. when I was working with one of my students, and we were looking at different of the larger banking organizations, and so many banks were like the bank that I was working with, I will not name them so I should get in trouble. I had to pay for my savings account, and I didn't realize that you didn't have to do that with most banks. So actually like sitting down and looking at these things and not just following a bank because that's what your parents had you under when you were a kid, right? Those changes make a difference, right? Not paying $17 a month for a savings account. That's crazy. Like, shouldn't have to do that. So
absolutely. All those little tidbits help, and all those little ways of saving money add up.
For sure.
So that's great. Cassandra, this was excellent. Really want to thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for getting up so early again. Although 7 o'clock for you probably isn't that early.
Oh no, this is great. I've been up for 2 hours.
Well, congrats again on being a grand prize winner, and best of luck in your new field.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Money Matters with Matt. I hope you learned something new. If you've got an idea for a topic for a future episode, drop us an email at awards@nscc.ca. You can also send us a question there, and we will answer it in a future episode. Any resources or links that we discussed during this episode are available in the show notes. Thanks. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to Money Matters, an NSCC financial literacy podcast. Make sure to subscribe to NSCC's YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode. Until next time.